Hello, everybody. Back at it once again. Close Corners, episode 8.
Hello.
Welcome back once again. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Yeah.
La 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 la
La
la.
la la la. So true. Yeah.
How are you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing quite well this morning. I had some eggs and some toast.
Yeah.
I made them all nice. I put some. You use a adobo seasoning ever?
No,
It's pretty
but like I
good.
would like to.
I
I would
put it
like
with the eggs, and then I put a little just this Jamaican hot sauce. I like it's called Grace's Very Hot Pepper Sauce. I threw a little bit of
Oh,
that in there. Yeah,
Jamaican hot sauce?
yeah, it was pretty good.
That's better than any other hot sauce.
Yeah, I made a whole bunch for me and Rin. We had a nice breakfast together.
That sounds so delicious.
It was delectable.
It was delectable, yes.
Yes, in fact.
I feel like that's a descriptive word that you need for that.
No, there's a,
If
there's a lot of
if
good
you're
words.
using quite otherwise um pretty obscure esoteric seasonings for this
What can I
breakfast.
say? It matches my taste. Like the Jamaican hot sauce is like the Dean Blunt of condiments,
That's
if
what I'm saying.
if you want to say that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
This morning I I mean I was up pretty late last night, so I woke up and I did my little routine, like I wake up, meditate,
Hmm.
and then I just made myself. Then we had this little podcast. So then I made myself a quick smoothie. I made a berry medley smoothie,
Hmm.
with protein powder in it, peanut butter, creamy peanut butter.
Hmm.
I also threw cinnamon in there with oat milk, and
That's complex.
it's quite delicious right now. It's actually quite, and it's also quite simple and easy. So
That sounds like it's smacking right
I
now.
really like it.
Well, great. Well, that's great.
Yeah. So. I think that if there's one thing that's on our mind right now,
Hmm.
I'm really upset that I don't think we'll be able to see this Elysia Crampton show.
Yeah, what's going on? Because when did they
So
go up?
I was on um I was keeping track of what things like I think you can only really see like where or it's not Elysia Crampton, it's named um Chukwuyama Chukwuyamani Kandori.
Hmm.
Um and um most of the information that you get from them is on their Bandcamp.
Right.
Um so like I looked at their Bandcamp and it said like upcoming shows was in Philly, but then eventually it was announced that it was at the Institute of Contemporary Arts. And apparently the show is free. It's a
Hmm.
whole show of trans like trans and also like black or indigenous artists. And
That's
also
good.
just for reference for anyone listening who's not aware of this artist, um, the Chukwi Mamani Kandori is also it's a side project of the very prolific Elysia Crampton, who's known for combining a lot of sounds that range from like cumbia and like indigenous music to like electronic atmospheres,
Hmm.
sound collage. Um, people reference them as being a like the herald of this genre called epic collage, which is kind
Hmm.
of tends to it's like sound collage, but it feels more reminiscent of like I guess like movie soundtracks in a way. Like it's very epic in its it sounds like an epic, so to say.
Hmm.
Um, but anyways, this show was going to be I didn't know when the show went up, but the show is free, and tickets sold out, um,
Right. I
and
don't
it
know.
was
Maybe more will
unfortunate.
go up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I actually I reached out to the people at I emailed one of the people at the ICA and be like, hey, are tickets happening?
Hmm.
More please let me know, because I feel like this is a show that like a lot of people would see. Like I think
For
a lot of
sure.
people recognize, you know, Elysia Crampton as a really, you know, important like trans artist of our time, I would
For
say.
sure. And I definitely feel the same way, which is why I'm so excited
Yeah.
to go see her if we're given the opportunity, for sure. Yeah,
Although,
ever since you like put me on to the first tracks you showed me by her, I've been in the vortex. I've been in the Alicia Crampton vortex since
dude,
then.
I actually would like I don't know why we haven't done this yet on this podcast, but I would
Hmm.
like you to very much tell me um about like your relationship to like the edited and remixed
Yeah,
uh
it really is more predominantly than any other of her works. Is it a mixtape or like compilation or like I don't even know. Did she release it or did someone else? I don't
it's a
even know.
compilation. It's a
Okay.
compilation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna quickly pull up the page for it just so I can get all
Mm.
the information for it. But please continue.
Yeah. I think edited remixed just like very instantly attention grabbing and like attention, holding. I think it's just such a novel idea and it really captivated me just the way that, these pop samples that I'm like familiar with from growing up are being placed on over like these grand epic collages of just sound and instrumentation. And I think that it does something for me that nothing really else does. Like
Right.
I think that uh it's just every time I go back to it, I love it. Like for instance, like I think which track was it? Dreaming is one of my I think Dreaming is my favorite song of all time. And like
Rename.
and that there's a lot of contenders there, obviously, but just like something about how glitzy it is, but at the same time it's like classical and
Right.
but like it's so beautiful and grand and massive. It kind of just feels like the musical manifestation of like falling in love almost and like not to be like sappy or like anything about it but just like I think that it just like captures a very beautiful emotion of just
Right.
like it just feels like dreaming, yeah, it's like in a
Yeah,
trance.
and you're actually like not far off from the premise of this compilation. And I
Mhm.
just for reference to people that aren't aware of this, Elysia Crampton has this has this project called E plus E. And she had released this compilation in 2014 called Edited and Remixed 2008 to 2012. Um, and basically what it is, it's a compilation of mashups. It's mashups of like kind of like contemporary R&B songs over
Mhm.
like minimalist like new age pieces. So you're kind of taking like for example on the song Smile, it's
You smile, I
yeah,
smile.
it's like which I by the way found out is was a there's a the guest artist behind that is Chino Amobi, who's like a also another Tyler, you there's one time you played me like the Guts theme.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
yeah, that's Chino Amobi.
Oh really?
Yeah. Um or not the original Guts theme, but that Guts like epic collage
Oh, the
thing.
yeah, the black-hearted boy,
You're right.
yeah.
Black Hearted Diamond Boy that's Chino Amobi.
Yeah,
He's also just as much of a like just as much of an influence to epic collage as Elysia Crampton is. I think they're both pretty much contemporaries with each other.
for
Um,
sure.
but on the song "Smile," it's like Justin Bieber like "Smile" playing over what I believe to be like a Steve Reich piece. And it just puts the vocals in a completely different like context.
Hmm.
Like you're used to you would hear the original vocals as like um you hear the original vocals with like the pop rhythm and everything like the digital production,
Yeah.
and you put it instead like it's just like you're just hearing you're just hearing it over these very like rhythmic pieces of like new age and minimalism, and it brings out the vocals in such a new way, but it also the vocals bring out like the instrumental in such a new way as well. It's really creative.
Yeah, they definitely feed into each other. I just think just like it's just so there's something I can't like put it to words. It's very like ephemeral or like not ephemeral, but yeah, maybe ephemeral. Like just like it feels so fleeting, but so natural. Like just like I don't know if you've ever done this, but like I like to go on hikes and I like to just walk around. I'll listen to OPN or I'll listen to Alicia and just like having this album on for a walk in the woods. It
Oh,
like
it's
oh, it
beautiful.
feels like you're being wrapped in a blanket of nature for
It's
real.
beautiful.
I think
Like
one of my
I
favorite motifs, also before I forget it, throughout the album is just like the bird chirping. I think that like just something
the
as
bird
simple,
tripping.
yeah, like I
Oh, the
through
bird chirping. I
yeah
think you said bird
chirping.
tripping.
No, not bird chirping. Bird like just like the little samples of birds chirping, just like the yeah, just the little sound bites. I think that just really adds so much for some reason. I can't. I think it just feels like it's really hard for me to talk about this, which is why I think I haven't tried to approach this topic before. It does something to me, but I don't have the words for it. You know?
And I think that's fair. I think like music that does that is more powerful than anything. And I feel
Right.
like there's just music that's just like hard to describe, but you can only really like feel, you
Yeah, I
know.
would. This is one I would
Um,
definitely say people got to give a chance if they haven't heard it. Definitely. I mean, my I would definitely. You have to hit Dreaming. You got to hit Everlong. The Everlong? Can we talk
the
about the
Everlong
Everlong?
one is awesome.
I never knew I
Um,
needed to hear Dave Grohl like that until I did.
it's it's the guitar of Foo Fighters Everlong and uh also I'm
Just
so
like a
sorry.
beautiful like
Is Dave does Dave Grohl sing
yeah,
in
Dave Grohl sings in Foo Fighters.
okay, because
Yeah.
I knew that he was like the drummer
Nirvana, yeah.
of Nirvana, but I didn't know if he was, yeah.
Yeah, Foo
Um
Fighters is his band after Nirvana happened.
right. But what is it? Um Yeah, no, it takes like the vocals, it takes the stems of like the guitar from Everlong and also the vocals and it puts it over like a minimalist piece. I don't know which one. I should
Right.
find the samples. And it's wild. It's so much it's insanely atmospheric.
Hmm.
Also I forgot to mention what I was saying earlier that like yeah, you're kind of like in like the ballpark of like the feelings of this record because
Hmm.
actually this compilation was made as like love songs for like a lover of Elysia.
That makes sense.
Um and um yeah, it's I think what's so fantastic about this, I really love it's records like this and even like stuff like Chuck Person's Echo Jams where
Hmm.
like the process of making it is so insanely simple, but
Right.
the overall like result is just like beyond. It's just like one of a kind,
Mm.
you know?
Hmm. This is definitely one of the most one of a kind things I've ever listened to, for sure.
Right. And
Um,
also for like 2014 is like it's pretty perfect for its time. And like
yeah.
also to be made in like from like 2008 to 2012 is especially quite ahead of its time too.
I was
Like
certainly ahead of its time. Yeah, I think that's a common theme of a lot of the artists or art movements we've talked about so far is just like when they happened, how ahead of the curve they were. Or at least from our perspective, someone who people who weren't as tapped into music at the time, that these movements were happening, and these projects were releasing. But it is really significant to just like reflect on the fact that, these are pretty old in terms of internet music and like
right. Like
it's
that
because it sounds
it's
like it could
crazy
have
to
been released today as a new
oh
art
yeah.
project. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like would still like otherwise it would still be relevant to this day.
I think it is
Like
timeless. I would say timeless.
it's also like 10 years ago. That's 10
Yeah.
years. That's wild.
Hmm.
Like 10 years ago, like what? I'm like we were in like middle school, you
Yeah.
know? And I feel like the premise of like a mashup was like I mean mashups have existed for such a long time, but
Hmm.
like there was especially something a little bit new about it when it came to like an internet context, which is why which is what's so like grand about this record specifically.
Mm.
I I think what it is that I really love is that these vocal acapellas of an otherwise of an otherwise digital these digital made pop songs, because you gotta remember that all these songs are kind of like late 2000s, so we're already kind of you know pop music is already like deep into just being completely
Mm.
digitally made. um Putting these otherwise digital acapellas, sometimes they're like also like a little bit like low bit
Yeah, a
too.
little bit too. Mm.
um um and they're placed over like the sounds of nature, like
Mm.
and in a more even a more analog context, like a lot of those, a lot of the minimalism like new age like songs, I would like I don't want to like entirely you know go say that like I know this and all, but like I feel that like a lot of these like minimalist pieces were definitely made like pre 2000s, like
Mm.
especially like Steve Reich or like Philip Glass kind of stuff, like you know like I don't believe that they don't they weren't, I wouldn't say they were probably digitally made, so you're kind of
Mm.
putting something digital next to something that is analog. I apologize if
You're
I
totally
am
off base there. You
miss
have a
yeah.
wider base of knowledge in that field. I'm inclined to believe you. But I think, when the sample comes from, or like, it doesn't make it any less timeless. And I wonder if that's because of our personal experience with these tracks. Like in 50 years, kids who didn't hear this stuff on the radio, will this still hit the same? And it's hard to say. Um, it's I'm not 100% confident, but I know for me, like, this is something I'm probably going to listen to for the rest of my life, just because it brings me back to just something in such a poignant way.
Right. And like a moment in time. Like
Definitely a moment in
it's
time. I think what I was thinking of is this is kind of like a signpost, like, or like this era to me, like 2009 to like 2013 era of time. I think that was like definitely a turning point of wider like culture, because I think that you see the prominence of like social networks rise at that time, and just more interconnectivity. We're coming out of like the recession, so
right.
the world's changing in a significant way. I
Right.
think this is almost maybe a sign off to that era in a way. It's I feel the same way about sometimes about OPN's R+7,
Oh,
just that it's like
great record.
it's the last, breath of this era being exhaled before we move forward. Like I feel that way with R+7, more in the way that it is more like classical, like not classical, but like classic MIDI stuff like that. It feels like a transitional piece between the technology of old and like ideas of new
Right.
in a way.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think that's like I wasn't even gonna say that was kind of like the premise like at
Definitely.
the beginning of vaporwave. It was kind of it was taking old media, like old analog media,
Hmm.
but the manipulation of it was digital,
Hmm.
Like that was when I don't I can't remember if I had mentioned it previously in an episode, but recently I've been getting really into like an early vaporwave artist called named Media Fired.
Yep.
Um and he actually recently just had like a whole like band camp like review uh kind of thing, like here's this old artist that y'all don't know about.
Right.
And he was just saying like, yeah, we were just like, we were just kids making music. We didn't really know what we're doing. And like
Hmm.
I think it felt like the thing that I was at least reflecting more on was the transition between like analog to digital rather than this, nostalgia.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like it's interesting to hear that, because it's like what we see as vaporwave is just is all like nostalgia.
Hmm.
Like it's like the basis of something being nostalgic, and but never have a like experienced it, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
And it feels almost strange to me in a way to be so nostalgic for things that were just radio fodder, pretty much. Like these, I don't want to diminish the artistic credence of Justin Bieber or anything like that, but like I think in the case of a lot of pop of this era and probably pop today was very commodified, and I don't think it was meant to, stick around forever because that's just not how pop music functions, you know? Like
right,
obviously throughout the decades we've had pop hits that, we hold on to, but for the most 99.9% of pop hits just get flushed away as soon as we're done with them. And I think
right.
it's really
It's
interesting to take something like that and make aggrandize it to the point to where it's like creating a new emotional impact on you or
right. It's
reminding you of something.
right, and it really is like um kind of like it is the commodification of it kind of, you know, the people that are behind these big labels,
Hmm.
you know, being like this is going to be the song of the time.
Hmm.
This is going to trend. It's going to play everywhere.
Hmm.
We will get this everywhere, and you will be a pop star. But obviously, all these people have contracts, and over time, those contracts will be done, and you know, so on.
Hmm.
And you know, some artists, you know, have their contracts renewed, um, but like you know, like you're right. There's like the commodification of it is kind of like, you know, like these labels will spend like so much time and money in one like at one point in time
Hmm.
like throwing money at this person and like getting them everywhere and having them be heard, and then you know there comes a point where you know they're like they want the new thing, so they let
Hmm.
go of that person. You know, it's so recycled. It's just like it's
Hmm.
just recycling. Um, and like that's kind of like I think that's the thing about like using these pop samples um on that record, because it's like um I feel like we especially see these, you know, every time there's just going to be there's things that we see as being timeless, but there's things that we see as being so for its time that's almost
Hmm.
kitschy, which is like
Hmm.
not to say entirely that the pop song sample on here are kitsch, but like you know, like it's very the production can their original production can be like dated, so to say.
For sure. I think
But
definitely like that code of 2010 sheen, it really it gets harder to stomach every year that passes. I think there's a very specific trend of just like super cheesy mastering, and I think that's always kind of been around in pop. But I think like coinciding and
but
like
like digital
like the
pop
yeah
is
yeah like the
especially
digital gleam, just like the I mean like it
yeah,
coincides with like the bling era,
right.
just super glossy production. When I think that has its place depending on time and application, but I think
Yeah,
it was it's
which is
definitely
also
indicative of
this
the era, I would say.
right, which is also to say like these are all things that make that music stand on its own as being beautiful, you know?
I think
Like,
so.
and you also see like, you know, pop, I would even gonna say like hyper pop
Hmm.
is very reflective of like the over you know these really insanely digital like over compressed like you know music, and
Hmm.
like it just like leans into so many different areas of like I would say like consumer culture, you know, whether that's
Hmm.
like you know kind of like the hot those like the hot topic kind of aesthetics, or like you know dubstep and
Yeah.
you know all that kind of stuff, like even like with like hyperpop I'm not like so entirely like into it, or like I don't know so much about it,
Hmm.
well accustomed to it, but like um it's very much like it's very much like a rides on you know like a really digital sound, you know.
Definitely.
um and like I think like it's just like people are just making music of that time, you
Hmm.
know. Um, like I remember when like 1,000 Gecs came out, and I was like, this record's awesome. Like
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
people hate that record, but also I love that record. I feel like that's like such like a landmark in um like that is a land car horn.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's a
I think it
landmark
was
in like
that was the
in
platforming of that sound to the general audience, which I
oh
thought was
yeah,
it's definitely a
absolutely.
watershed for so much work that's been happening in the underground and on SoundCloud and on forums for so long. Just like, excuse me, the eventual cultivation of that sound, and then finally getting, I don't know, society to the point or the music to the point to where they can coalesce and it can be released in to critical acclaim and then also panning. I think the reaction to that album is really interesting.
It
I think the
is.
divisiveness of it, because I think my opinion is that I love it. I think the way it's silly and fun, and it's not trying to take itself too seriously, and it's just trying to bring you some hyper pop bangers, some to play on during a car ride. I really like that. I really admire that.
Dude,
I think
yeah.
I think there's an element in a lot of music consumption, and it really depends on the audience between artists. But I think some people overemphasize the importance of music being taken seriously. I think I think there's a time and place for like more serious or like less glitchy and funky stuff. But I think if you're trying to listen to 100 Gecs without any of that stuff, you're not trying to listen to 100 Gecs. You know, I
I
think,
get you.
yeah. I don't
Um,
know if that argument was like completely salient, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that people talking down on the album for being silly, you know, fair enough.
but
But at the same
fair
time,
enough,
like
but also
that's the appeal.
that's just what makes it what it is. It's just
Yeah.
being itself. And like
Mhm.
I think the thing is that like oh like this come out and I hate this. But like why do you hate it, you know? Like and I think like there's a point of like music where it's like is this like is this just is this doing something like new
Mm.
or is it just like not really adding to a conversation because if there's anything like when 1,000 Gecs came out that added to a conversation it honestly like I had to like kind of like change my perception a bit of like what like music could be because this was something
Mm.
that was very off-putting to me when I first listened to it,
Right.
um
I think at points it is hardly music as well, but I think that's why I really like it. Like, what's the one track? Let me pull up the track list for 1,000 Gecs real quick. 1,000 Gecs. Let's see. One where it's just kind of random sound effects for a few minutes.
oh yeah, I
um,
love I think just like the first track is awesome because when I
the
heard that I was like
745 Sticky's great.
yeah, I was like, wait, this is a fucking like this turns into like a bro step track, and it's kind of awesome.
It's sick. Also, like the Eurobeat track right in the middle. I would never stop. Yeah, I think it's. I think I'm thinking of Gek Gek Gek. I think.
Yeah,
We're back once
get
again. Boom, boom,
get.
boom.
Um,
Yeah, that is definitely something that I would never think to hear on an album that's so widely circulated as this one was. But I think that's why it's so important.
right.
I
No,
think it's
absolutely.
like a watershed
I think
moment.
that's I feel like that's all I have to say about music today.
You
Honestly.
know what? Yeah, I think you're right. I think we got some very good points out. Good. I never thought I'd talk about Alicia Crampton and 100 Gecs in the same breath, but I suppose it makes sense.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, yeah,
but thank you once again for having me on.
of course. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. This is episode 8. Episode 9 coming at you soon. And
Take care,
that will be the end of season 1, so to say.
take care,
Bye,
take care.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And